Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of What's That Whiskey here on Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and today I've got one single blind sample in front of me, sent in by a very generous friend of the channel known as Whiskey Problems, aka Jesse. So what I'm gonna be doing in today's video is giving you a full, unbiased review of whatever the heck is in my glass. It is mystery sample number 17 from Jesse, so he sent me a lot of these things. Now he also sent me a reveal card, which I have under this glass and sample. I'm gonna be doing the reveal for myself at the end of this video, but you guys are gonna know way ahead of time, maybe around the time of the first nosing or maybe the first sip. I'll put it along the bottom of the screen here. So I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna nose it, taste it, give you a full review, and then towards the end of this video, I'll start locking in some answers, some guesses about age and proof, maybe distillery type of whiskey, a bottle guess, whether or not I think it's finished. I'll pretty much just rattle off anything I can think of in the moment to try to guess what is in this glass. Then I'll do the reveal for myself out of this sort of reveal card at the end of the video. We'll do a quick debrief and I'll get you guys on your way. So without further ado, let's check out mystery sample number 17. Not a particularly dark color, but it still kind of has an American whiskey color to it. I know that doesn't mean much, but let's go to the nose now and see what we get. All right, so right away, this whiskey smacks me in the face with a very strong cherry syrup note, and that's making my mind go in a few different directions. I'm not gonna make a ton of guesses up front here, but I do have some ideas of where this could possibly be coming from. But I'm just gonna say right off the bat, the strongest note is cherry syrup. There's some honey in there as well, maybe some brighter cinnamon notes. And again, thinking of brighter notes, there's also kind of a vanilla quality to this. So by no means is this a dark, dense, heavy whiskey. And the color doesn't say that, the proof doesn't say that, and the profile definitely doesn't say that either. It's more of like a middle ground, maybe 100 to 105 proof feel on the nose. Doesn't feel that old. I'm in like the 7 to 9 year range, I would say. And so for me, I'm just gonna come out and say it at this point. It feels like a Buffalo Trace product because of that strong cherry note and those honey notes in there as well, possibly mash bill 2. And given the proof, I could see this being like a Rock Hill Farms, to be honest with you. If it's not mash bill 2, then maybe it's like an E.H. Taylor, being a mash bill 1, being around 100 proof. But the palate's gonna tell me a lot more about it. The last thing I'm gonna say is that if this is not a Buffalo Trace product, I could also see this being like a Wilderness Trail, because there actually are some similarities. It's sweet mash. You get a lot of great fruit notes out of Wilderness Trail. They have an 8-year wheated bourbon at 100 proof that kind of has some of these notes as well. If it's neither of those things, I would say maybe it's like a New Riff, because sometimes I mix up New Riff with BT products and also Wilderness Trail. So we're gonna go in for the palate already. This is not like a crazy whiskey that I need to sit with and nose forever and ever. So here we go, guys, cheers. All right, so first sip of this whiskey, I would say, is actually more impressive than the nose. And it's because the spice really takes over on the palate and it kind of amplifies everything a little bit more. I feel like the nose smelled good. You know, it had that great cherry syrup note, some honey notes that again remind me of Buffalo Trace. But on the palate, you really get taken over by white pepper and cinnamon, a very tingly experience. And I think it really extends the finish of the whiskey, which is always a good thing. Now, on that note though, I would say that because it is so spicy and tingly, but the body of the whiskey kind of falls off a little bit faster than the spice, I would attribute that spice to rye in the mash bill, as opposed to it being a higher proof. So on the nose, this feels kind of reserved, kind of relaxed. Again, I'm gonna probably center in around 100 proof. I know that's kind of a round number, but let's go with 100 for right now. But the palate drinks more like 107 to 110. In that case, I would say that it's probably an issue of maybe a higher rye mash bill or something. Maybe it's just a freak barrel and it's a single barrel and it's kind of weird and off profile. But in this case, I'm gonna attribute it not to the proof, but actually to the rye content and the mash bill. So I'm gonna call this a high rye bourbon. I'm gonna stick with Buffalo Trace because everything on the palate tracks with the nose. For me thinking this is Buffalo Trace, I'm gonna go ahead and rule out Wilderness Trail, rule out New Riff, and anything else that I would have been thinking about. So to me, I'm really still thinking like Rock Hill Farms on this is a strong possibility. It's 100 proof, I believe. The age is probably undisclosed on that. I don't know. I think 7 to 9 is probably a fair guess. I'm gonna say this is an 8-year-old product. 100 proof, 8 years old. I'm gonna say it's mash bill 2 Buffalo Trace, high rye bourbon or higher rye bourbon. And I'm just gonna go with Rock Hill Farms. The only thing, if this is a Buffalo Trace and I'm getting this wrong, well, there are really 2 other possibilities. One, I think, would be like an E.H. Taylor small batch. And I could actually see this being a store pick of a Weller Antique 107. This doesn't feel weeded to me, but 107 doesn't always feel weeded to me either because it's got a lot of spice for that proof. I'm gonna stick with Rock Hill Farms. I think this is a solid whiskey. This is not worth chasing by any means. Like it's very good. It's got a little leather in the background, which I appreciate, but I think that's gonna do it. I think those are my guesses. So let's go ahead and check out what this is, see how right or wrong I was. Oh, okay. Well, actually, I think I'm right on almost everything except the bottle guess. So I've never had this before, and this goes to show you guys that, wow, I'm still in shock, that chasing allocated stuff is not always the answer, especially when it's Buffalo Trace. There are great, and I mean fantastic, allocated Buffalo Trace things, all the way up to the craziest stuff you can think of. Weller Millennium is an insanely good bottle, right? But the price is just totally ridiculous. But when you look at some of these middle ground things, like, well, in this case, what the reveal is, Elmer T. Lee, 100th anniversary tribute, 100 proof. I'm calling this a middle ground thing just based on secondary values because it's not the most absurdly priced thing you can get from Buffalo Trace. But stuff like this Elmer T. Lee, going down to like the Rock Hill Farms, up to the Mr. Sam's, like a lot of these things are just not worth chasing. So let's get into this now. And let's debrief a little on this. So Elmer T. Lee is gonna be mash bill 2. This is 100 proof. I said 100 proof. So the high rye bourbon, the mash bill 2 stuff tracks. This has that spice profile, especially on the palate, that makes me, think it's spice and not proof. I mean, everything else about this I think is spot on. I don't know the age of this Elmer T. Lee bottle. If I find it, I'll put it on the screen, but if I can't find it, it's probably non-age stated. I don't know if this is a single barrel or if this is a batched release. I am honestly pretty shocked about this because I thought Rock Hill Farms felt a little generous as far as quality goes. Like this feels good, but it doesn't feel like allocated whiskey or anything like that. So I'm really shocked that this is this Elmer T. Lee. So let me do one more sip of this actually, because I want to get this on my palate now that I know what it is. Look guys, I'm gonna stand by what I said. The only thing in this whiskey that makes it feel even remotely special, I would say, is that leather note in the finish. But I think you're gonna get that leather note from, some E.H. Taylor single barrel picks. This is a cool bottle to sip. It's cool that they're, commemorating Elmer T. Lee. But this whiskey is just very normal, very average whiskey. So moral of the story, allocated and hype does not always mean that you need to chase it. Taste for yourself, of course. Jesse, I'm gonna be curious to find out what you think of this Elmer T. Lee 100th anniversary tribute. I can't believe I just kind of took a dump on this bottle a little bit in this video, but that's okay. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you soon here on Drums and Drams.